Good morning and welcome. It's good to see each and every one of you here this morning. Hope you had a good week last week and it continues to be the same for you. That song we just sang, I Need Thee Every Hour, it seems like it holds more true each year that I live. We do need God every hour, and we need to draw close to Him. The title of this morning's sermon is The Power of Disappointment. We live, as everyone is aware, in an extremely success-oriented world. The thought of failure is avoided at all cost. Everyone is encouraged to believe they can be anything they want to be. They can be whoever they want to be. Everybody can be a winner. Everybody deserves a trophy. You can become whatever you want. Doesn't matter what that is. Nothing can stop you from succeeding. Some succeed and others do not. But success and disappointment both serve a vital purpose in our lives. Society views disappointment as a negative aspect of life. It hinders character development. It hampers personal growth. And certainly will step on your self-esteem. However, there is true power in disappointment if it's examined more closely. Disappointment, of course, is a feeling of dissatisfaction when hope, desires, and expectations fail. But in the third proverb, in verse 5, we see something that is one of the main causes of disappointment in today's world. I suppose it always has been. Proverbs 3 and 5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. There's more that's said in the following verses, but I just want to stop there. That's the main problem, why we have so much disappointment in life. We lean on our own understanding instead of leaning on the Lord, instead of focusing on Him. We rely on human intelligence instead of trusting God's wisdom. We're finished in Proverbs. If you would, turn with me, please, to the Gospel of John, chapter 13. The Gospel of John, chapter 13, if you're following along. And there we're going to begin looking at verses 31 through 33. Gospel of John, chapter 13, verses 31 through 33. Now judgment is upon this world. Now the ruler of this world shall be cast out. And if I be lifted up from the earth, will draw all men to myself. But he was saying this to indicate what kind of death by which he might die. Now if you think about it, the apostles had been traveling with him for somewhere around 3 years, living in very close proximity, learning from him, following his examples, drawing from the hope that he had presented to them. Now he informed him he's going away. And we find that he tells the apostles they're not going to be able to come where he is. They don't understand. That lack of understanding, no doubt, creates disappointment for them. They had a different plan in mind. They was going to follow Jesus all the way. And here he says he's leaving them. Verses 36 and 37. 35 through 37. Jesus therefore said to them, for a little while longer the light is among you. Walk while you have the light, that darkness may not overtake you. He who walks in darkness does not know where he goes. While you have the light, believe in the light, in order that you may become sons of light. These things Jesus spoke, and he departed and hid himself from them. But though he had performed so many signs before them, yet they were not believing in him. Well, I just read out of the wrong chapter. I apologize for that. That happens sometimes. So let's start that over. The Gospel of John, chapter 13. Verses 31 through 33. We'll get it right this time, folks. When therefore he had gone out, Jesus said, now the Son of Man is glorified, and God is glorified in him. If God is glorified in him, God will also glorify him in himself, and will glorify him immediately. Like little children, Little children, I am with you a little while longer. You shall seek me. And as I said also, and as I said to the Jews, I now say also to you, where I am, you cannot go. Stop there for just a minute. Now it makes more sense what I was trying to say. I apologize for that. He informs them he's going away. They can't come where he's coming. No doubt they don't understand. I don't think any of us would if we had actually been there and heard those words. Now I want to read verses 34 through 37. A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another, even as I have loved you, that you love one another. By this all men will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another. Simon Peter said to him, Lord, where are you going? Jesus answered, where I am going, you cannot follow me now, but you shall follow later. Peter said to him, Lord, why can I not follow right now? I will lay down my life for you. And we're going to stop there for a moment. Peter's told that he can't follow. He's going to follow. And Jesus said, you'll follow me later. And Peter said, well, why can't I follow you now? I'm willing to lay down my life for you. But disappointment must have filled their hearts and their minds as those words fell on their ears. They had, as I said, they had been in close proximity to Jesus. But even though they were disappointed, in the following chapter, in John 14, verses 1 through 3, he brings them a few words of encouragement. Let not your heart be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many dwelling places. If it were not so, I would have told you, for I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go to prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, there you may also be. Oftentimes these words are read at a funeral to bring comfort to those, the family of those who have passed away. But these words of comfort are brought to the living. They're meant for the living. They're meant for you and I. They're told not to worry. Given a promise by Jesus, he's preparing a place for them, and a promise that they will once again be together. He's trying to subdue that disappointment that he is aware that they're enduring. Disappointment potentially has three positive effects. In this particular case, it wakes the apostles to the reality that life is constantly changing and they must change with it. It moves the apostles to action. Their responsibility would increase after Jesus Christ was crucified. Another thing it did is something that perhaps it could do for us that would do us well. Destroy attitudes of complacency. We must abandon our comfort zones and look to what life brings us. Not where we sit constantly and where we feel comfortable and where we feel as though nothing needs to change. I feel good right now. I don't want anything to ever change. Let it stay the same. Disappointment takes that away. Let's turn now into the Old Testament. If you would, for just a few moments, turn with me to Jeremiah chapter 29. Jeremiah chapter 29. We're going to look at a few verses there. There we're going to look at verses 11 through 14. Jeremiah chapter 29, verses 11 through 14. For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare, not for calamity, to give you a future and a hope. Then you will call upon me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. And you will seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart. And I will be found by you, declares the Lord, and I will restore you. I will restore your fortunes and will gather you from all the nations from all the places where I have driven you, declares the Lord. And I will bring you back to the place where I sent you into exile. Now these words aren't spoken to those who are facing promising circumstances. These words are spoken to those who are facing disappointment. They have been carried into Babylonian captivity because of their unfaithfulness to God. And he tells him it's going to be a while. You're going to be there a while. But don't worry. He said, I've had plans for you. In the midst of their disappointment, and for some, a lifetime of disappointment, he tells them that he has plans. We have to always remember that God's plans are bigger than our disappointments in life. They're always bigger. We're finished in Jeremiah. If you would turn with me now to 1 Kings chapter 19. We'll be there for a little bit. 1 Kings chapter 19. We're going to look at the first 4 verses. In the first 4 verses, we see that Elijah flees the wrath of Jezebel. 1 Kings chapter 19, verses 1 through 4. Now Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done, and how he had killed all the prophets with the sword. Then Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah, saying, So may the gods do to me, and even more, if I do not make your life as the life of one of them by tomorrow at about this time. And he was afraid and arose and ran for his life and came to Beersheba, which belongs to Judah, and left his servant there. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness and came and sat down under a juniper tree. And he requested for himself that he might die and said, It is enough now, O Lord, take my life, for I am not better than my fathers. Out of fear for his life, he goes into seclusion. He considers his life to be absolutely worthless. He requests to God, take my life. I'm no better off than my ancestors who have already died. Elijah's had enough. He can't take the disappointment any longer. Jezebel has sworn an oath against him, and Elijah is driven by fear and persecution into seclusion. Continuing on in verses 5 through 8. And he lay down and slept under a juniper tree, and behold, there was an angel touching him, and he said to him, Arise, eat. Then he looked, and behold, there was at his head a bread cake baked on hot stones, and a jar of water. So he ate and drank, and lay down again. And the angel of the Lord came again a second time and touched him and said, Arise, eat, because your journey is too great for you. So he arose and ate and drank, and he went in the strength of that food 40 days and 40 nights to Horeb, the mountain of God. God, at a time when he was totally disappointed with his own life and he didn't even want to continue living, God provided for him his physical needs, provided comfort, hope, and encouragement, renewed his strength to continue on. He goes to Mount Horeb, the mountain of God. We all need that encouragement that Elijah got at times of disappointment. On to verses 9 and 10. There he came to a cave and lodged there, and behold, the word of the Lord came to him and said to him, What are you doing here, Elijah? And he said, I have been very zealous for the Lord, the God of hosts, for the sons of Israel have forsaken thy covenant, torn down thine altars, and killed thy prophets with the sword. And I alone am left, and they seek my life to take it away. He's going ahead and telling God, telling this angel what all the problems are. He's disappointed. He's discouraged. He's frustrated. He's tired. He's burned out, and he's ready to give up. He can't see any logical reason or way that he can continue on in his life. He states, I've had a lot of zeal for the Lord, but Israel has destroyed everything good. They have taken down the altars. They've killed the prophets. And at this point, he feels isolated and alone, as though nothing is ever going to be right again in his life. In verses 11 through 14, the Lord's presence is made known. So he said, Go forth and stand on the mountain before the Lord. And behold, the Lord was passing by. And a great and strong wind was rending the mountains and breaking in pieces the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. After the fire, a sound of a gentle blowing. And it came about that when Elijah heard it, that he wrapped his face in his mantle, and he went out and stood in the entrance of the cave. And behold, a voice came to him, saying, "What are you doing, Elijah?" Then he said, "I had been very zealous for the Lord, the God of hosts, for the sons of Israel have forsaken thy covenant, torn down thine altars, and killed thy prophets with the sword, and I alone am left. They seek my life." After having seen evidence of the Lord, he desires to have pity upon himself, saying, "Woe is me. There's nobody left but me." As if to say, I can't do all of this alone. He's discouraged. He's disappointed, frustrated, perhaps angry. And yet in verses 15 through 17, he is instructed and advised. Follow along in verses 15 through 17. And the Lord said to him, "Go, return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus, and when you have arrived, you shall anoint Hazael king over Aram, and Jehu the son of Nimshi you shall anoint king over Israel, and Elisha the son of Shaphat of Abel Meholah you shall anoint as a prophet in your place. And it shall come about that the one who escapes from the sword of Hazael, Jehu shall put to death, and the one who escapes the sword of Jehu, Elijah shall put to death." He's being told, you're not in this alone. I have a job for you to do. Set your disappointment aside. Do what you're supposed to do. Follow your instructions, and things will go well for you. No doubt, Elisha was probably surprised at these words. But then, even more of a surprise is what is revealed in verse 18. Yet I will leave 7,000 in Israel, all the knees that have not bowed to Baal, and every mouth that has not kissed him. Probably shocked. He thought he was alone in Israel. Everybody's abandoned the Lord. Disappointment makes you feel lonely. It makes you feel alone. It was revealed to him that there were others who were zealous for the Lord. Not just a few, not just a handful, but 7,000 who have not defiled themselves, who have not bowed down to Baal or kissed him. They remain loyal to the Lord. And in the midst of his disappointment, he was unable to see this, but it was brought to his attention. In the midst of his frustration and disappointment, God appears and surprises him, as he may all of us. He reveals himself to us, and he reveals our usefulness, as he did to Elijah. He renews our heart, our spirit, and our mind in time of disappointment. Of course, Elijah's going by, from a human perspective, just as things look. He's going by how things look. And just going to make a reference to this next verse, but in John 7:24, we're told not to judge by appearances, but to judge righteously. Don't bother determining what is by the way things look, because they aren't always as they seem. We make judgments by what we see, by outward appearances from human perspectives that's often tainted by our opinions and our attitudes and our ideas. Regardless of the disappointment that we endure or what the circumstances appear to reveal, we are to walk by faith. We're finished in 1 Kings. Turn with me, if you would, to 2 Corinthians, please. 2 Corinthians chapter 5. In verses 7 through 9, follow along. I'll start in 6. Therefore, being always of good courage, and knowing that while we are at home in the body, we are absent from the Lord, for we walk by faith, not by sight. We are of good courage, I say, and prefer rather to be absent from the body and to be at home with the Lord. Therefore, also we have as our ambition, whether at home or absent, to be pleasing to Him. Sometimes it's difficult to walk by faith when you're challenged with disappointment. But the challenge is to continue pleasing the Lord no matter what the circumstances are. Not to fear what we see. Not to fail. To trust God. We fear what we see, and then we fail to trust unseen things. And that is the challenge that, as Christians, that we must overcome. Must overcome those. The valuable lessons we learn from disappointment, possibly the most valuable lesson that disappointment should teach us, is to view life from an eternal perspective, regardless of what you feel, regardless of what you see, regardless of what you may believe. Turn back in 2 Corinthians to chapter 3. I want to look at the very last verse of that chapter. 2 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 18. But we all, with unveiled faces, beholding us in a mirror, the glory of the Lord, are being transformed into the same image from glory to glory, just as from the Lord, the Spirit. Disappointment in this world, in business and family, social life, church, whatever it might be, disappointment of any area of life should produce a desire for us to transform them into the image of the Lord, into the image of Christ. Another valuable lesson we learn from disappointment can be found also in 2 Corinthians, this time in chapter 4, verses 17 and 18, the last two verses of that chapter. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 17 through 18. For momentary light affliction is producing for us an eternal weight of glory, far beyond all comparison, while we look not at things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. No amount of disappointment can destroy God's work in and through Jesus Christ. Disappointment's a part of life, and at times disappointment is a big part of life. But the power of disappointment can strengthen our faith. It can make us see that the things that we face are not even worthy of comparing to the glory that is yet to come when the Lord returns. Elijah learned these lessons, and we must as well. With these thoughts in mind, I would open up the invitation if anybody has a need, if anybody has not been fully immersed in baptism for the forgiveness of sins, if anyone desires a prayer of the congregation or has any other need, please come forward as we stand and as we sing.